Hi, everybody. It is Jason here. Just wanted to give you a quick bit of information. This is a super fun episode with Steve Young, Dava Whisenant, and we also speak a little bit with Hank Beebe on the phone. This is a follow-up to our episode about Bathtubs Over Broadway from a few months ago. Turns out they are now releasing the soundtrack on vinyl. I'm actually waiting to get my copy right now, and I'll probably do like a little bit of an unboxing on the YouTube channel. And so that'll be super fun. And this is actually officially coming out today, the 26th. You can go to mondotees.com, and I believe at some point mid-March it should be in record stores as well. But you can order it now on mondotees.com as soon as I have my copy. I'll talk to you guys about it. But this is a really fun episode, and I can't wait for you guys to hear it. So here you go. Enjoy. I'm Jason Klom, and this is the Comedy on Vinyl podcast. The year is 2020. The album, the Bathtubs Over Broadway soundtrack on vinyl. This week, my guests, in person this time, Steve Young and Dava Whisenant. Thank you so much for doing the show.
Thanks for having us.
So Steve, of course, is the star of the documentary. Dava, you directed the documentary. I happen to love the movie, and I was so excited when you originally agreed to speak with me, Steve. But now you're here in Burbank. Temporarily.
Yes, I don't plan to relocate here, but it's very nice.
Yeah, it's not bad.
You never know.
I never know.
As parts of LA go, it's not bad.
Yeah, we're driving over here, and I'm looking at these little houses thinking, well, that's not bad.
Yeah.
I wonder how much those go for.
Too much.
All right, I've spoken too soon. I'm moving here.
Oh, okay. Sweet. Wonderful. Well, we've done our job. So you've just shown me what the album looks like. So I guess we're going to wait to release this till when we have the official release date. But it looks beautiful.
Thank you.
I'm very excited. I want to talk to you, since we went so much about like what the quest for these albums meant to you. We talked a bit about the movie. I want to know, Dava, what interested you, how you got involved, what interested you in this, and why you chose the angle you did on telling the story the way you did.
Well, yeah, I was not immediately drawn to industrial musicals the same way Steve was. In fact, he... when we worked together at The Late Show, I did not know that he collected these. And it was after I left the show that he sent me a CD with some of his favorites. And I looked at this list of corporate songs, and I thought, there's no way I'm going to like this. Like, what do I do? I mean, what should I... I'm afraid...
How do I be polite to him?
Yeah, right. I'm afraid to listen. And so I didn't for a long time. And when I finally did... the song My Bathroom was the one that really just, I mean, it's like, oh my God, I can't believe this is real. You know, and then it really was the thing that sucked me in, and then I started paying a lot more attention to what Steve was doing. And with the film, you know, I kind of wanted to take people on the same journey that he went on, which is, you know, first seeing something, you know, corporate musicals, something that looks so ridiculous, and you know, something to make an easy joke about, and then take them on the same journey that he took, which was as he goes to meet these people, he starts to connect to how talented they were and how much they cared about doing a good job, and it just opens up a whole other channel into his life of connecting with these people. So that's what I aim to do with the movie. And in fact, a lot of people, early people that we talked to, funders and things, didn't want Steve to be in the film.
Really?
Yeah.
What was their reasoning? What's that about?
I think people expect documentaries to be very educational, and they wanted it to be a very kind of, you know, here are some experts talking about business history and entertainment history and where industrial musicals fell within that.
That
and
sounds
I didn't,
terrible.
Yeah. In fact, I did interview some experts, and what they said was really valuable as far as research, but when I put them in an early cut of the film, it was like, this is not the movie I want to make.
It could have been so dry. Even if it's interesting, it's got to be so dry.
Yes, indeed, yeah. So, and I knew once I started talking to him about this, and he started to kind of, I would see emotion in him when he was talking about these composers who wrote these industrial shows, and I just like, that's not the guy I knew at Late Show. You know, who is this guy who gets teary talking about corporate musicals?
And his fellow man. Where did this guy's emotion come from?
Yeah.
That used to be hidden under a bushel somewhere.
Yeah.
You know what's interesting is I've interviewed a number of people who've worked on SNL and you can see there's something that runs through all of them. Interviewed a number of Letterman writers, and I think there's also something, and I don't know what it is. What do you think it is that is at your core as because you've said very much that you've lost, maybe not lost. How did you put it? Your taste in comedy
or comedy damage.
Comedy damage. Yes, thank you. So, do you think that's common with the Letterman folks?
I do, but people naturally have varying degrees of it. Mm-hmm. I know people who I completely respect and love personally and professionally and comedically who seem much more adept at enjoying a comedy show or movie than I am, and I'm sort of sorrowful about that because how did I get it so bad and ugly? I mean, I'm happy to laugh at wonderful in-the-moment fun with people, and Dava will tell you there are things that I laugh at, but I suspect it is very widespread and it comes out in different ways in different people, but I think it's anybody who goes into a job like this is going to get some version of it.
For sure, but I do also like that the movie explores then that you needed a new, not just emotional, like you need a new emotional input, like this new way to kind of receive whatever it is the rest of the world is putting out there. And I love that it's corporate musicals, though.
Yeah, well, as the lyric said, the kicks just keep getting harder to find. And when I found this corporate musical stuff, I thought that is the ultimate kick. It is just so extravagantly improbable. And that would have been pretty great, but then you'd think, well, it's probably horrible. Mm-hmm. But then, and some of it was, but
sure,
so much of it was like, oh my God, who are these geniuses putting together these songs about bathroom tile and tractors? I kind of wish I could hang out with these people because they seem great.
Uh-huh.
Bowling in space.
Yeah, bowling in
Bowling
space.
in space.
That's one of the ones I don't have yet. My friend John Ward has the Astroline Challenge.
Okay.
All right, so
That's if
any of your listeners go, I think I got a 1971 Brunswick bowling sales meeting album somewhere, that would be a tremendous.
But you've heard it though?
Oh yeah,
there's enough sharing that actually is out there.
That is a wonderful thing about collectors, I think, in general, and certainly in this field, is one person finds something new and they can't wait to share it with other people. Yes, John Ward and I, over the years, many times, oh my God, I just found this thing here. I'm going to dub it off and send it to you right away. Or Don Bowles, the punk rocker, he has that record Gould Growing that you see in the movie, and when he found that, it must have been 20 years ago now, I remember he called me up and started playing it over the phone. He couldn't wait for me to hear it. Yeah.
Dave, I apologize for not knowing, but were you a director on Late Show or what?
Oh, no.
No.
I was an editor on Late Show.
You were an editor on Late Show. Okay.
That's how I got my start editing. Mm-hmm. And Bathtubs was the first movie that I directed, but I've produced documentaries before.
Okay.
But this is my directorial debut. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I love nonfiction, anything where you get a chance to tell a great story. That's, doesn't matter what it is, but docs and comedy docs are that's really what gets me going.
It's so different though too when you're the filmmaker, because you're following somebody having an emotional journey, but you then have to figure out how much of that is a part of the film. I'd like to know if you can maybe remember when you're like, oh, this is what it is now. Like if you could remember when you found the crux of it.
Yeah, it was pretty early on. We went to Chicago and we learned that someone Steve had been looking for years, and who he assumed was had passed away, that he was alive. And so we went to find him, and that meeting, and then so that was the big thing. First, when I saw these two guys together, and just Steve's joy meeting him, and the kind of the thrill of the chase, all of that was so great. And then there's another moment where he is on stage with the woman who sang My Bathroom originally, and they're together singing it, and she started to cry at the audience loved the song. It was huge, round of applause after, and she was so moved that her work was being appreciated, that she started to cry, and that made me cry. And that's really when I thought, okay, we've this is something unusual. And I am following Steve's story, and it is going to be about him meeting these people, and nobody can tell me different. Yeah.
I'd like to talk a little bit about a hand either of you had in making the record, or what's on the record that we can talk about.
Oh yeah. The record has some of our favorite songs from the movie, and some of the original songs. Well, all of the original songs.
Great.
There were 3 original songs, and some of the original score that Tony DiLorenzo wrote, which is really beautiful. So it's a great mix of everything, and some. Let's see. Should we look at a song list, track list?
Yeah, sure. I gotta say that everybody involved with the soundtrack and the vinyl release, A+ first class people who, like us and anyone we want to work with, want to do the best possible job. And that has been thrilling to see that come out. They are sweating the details, and it's beautiful.
That's nice to hear.
Mondo is the company. Yeah. And they just that was really cool to be able to work on everything, the album cover and the booklet, and they allowed us to let our spirit kind of shine through the movie's spirit, be the guiding force. And they also really love the idea that they kind of wanted it to look like something that you would actually find digging through records, to have kind of a vintage retro vibe. Yeah. So that was the guiding principle at the beginning. And they just they let us put pretty much whatever we wanted on there.
That's so good.
Yeah. So the Gould Growing song is on there, the disco one.
And of course you have to have My Bathroom,
Yeah.
which is the one that for so many people it's, can this be real? This can't be real, but it's so weirdly good.
Yep. It still blows me away. Blows me away. And I've introduced a number of friends to it too. And I love it. That's part of the joy of it.
But I just love being able to call up Hank Beebe, who's been working on this stuff since well before I was born. He's 93 now. We co-wrote the big finale song together, but I love to call him up and say, Hank, 53 years after Diesel Dazzle, the Detroit diesel engine show, was done and you thought it was in your past, there is a pressing plant right now pressing vinyl records with the Diesel Dazzle song on it.
So
again.
Nuts.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's got to feel good to him.
Yeah. The the songs that Steve and John Ward sing together that they know by heart, that they don't even need the music in the movie to sing together. Yeah. Those songs are on there. The Lipton on the Move. And
you say, you got this big fantastic presentation. Now I'm just quoting the movie. I don't even think about the real song anymore. But the My Insurance Man, one of the very early ones I found, and you see Dave Letterman holding that one up on the Letterman show. And that was in the days when I thought, this may be nothing more than just a temporary shot in the arm for a comedy segment.
Of course,
but as I say in the movie, it would be weeks or months later, and I'm still singing that song. I'm still singing Diesel Dazzle to myself. Something is going on.
Oh, yeah. You're definitely kind of screwed when you listen to the album, because it's, these songs are going to be stuck in your head, and you're going to be singing a weird thing about, Lipton tea or, diesel. Engines
and tractors. We always love the tractor songs. There's one record you see flash by in the movie which has songs from a Ford tractor show by Sheldon Harnick and Jerry Bach before they were famous for Fiddler on the Roof. So we were pleased to put in a little bit of historical fun there, and it's a great song. I mean, that's the thing, is you could put together infinitely large compilations of mediocre to bad songs from this.
Sure.
But I think, David, you had a lot of agony figuring out which of the thousands of songs that I gave you, and many of which were just terrific, how do you figure out what to put in?
Really? Yeah.
I use the ones that would help tell the story, actually. So if the lyrics could help describe what was going on in our story, then that was one way that I would say, okay, that one's going in.
Yeah, that's wonderful.
Which is pretty funny when those lyrics were originally supposed to be about, a tractor musical or something.
Yeah,
But
like when I'm talking about, I looked for Sid Siegel for years. I thought he was gone, but now I'm driving up to his home to meet him. And the song is from his American Standard bathroom fixture musical, but it's, they said it couldn't be done, said it couldn't be done. Like the way that she wove those themes from decades-old industrial tunes in to comment on what's happening in the movie, I think is one of those things that by the second or third viewing of the movie, you're starting to realize the magnitude of how many great creative things are happening in this film.
Well, yeah, that's just it. It's such a dense documentary. It's also a very New York documentary. Like, it just feels very New York. Even though you're traveling everywhere, it's inevitably going to feel very New York. Was there any eye toward that as a flavor? I mean, both having been in New York for an extended period of time?
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty inherent to the whole thing.
Yeah.
And just being able to be backstage at the Late Show, Late Show feels very New York, So we were the only crew that ever got to film backstage. So that was pretty cool. And just having that vibe in there, Steve's daily life back when that show was on. I love New York. And then, Broadway, the whole thing.
And so many people worked in Broadway, but also in this shadow world of industrials out of New York. Hank Beebe was based there. Michael Brown, who you see a little bit of and hear a little bit of. Sid Siegel and the whole Bathrooms crew, that was Chicago. That was the other big center of gravity. So it was great that we've managed to connect these two worlds. Just recently I was up in Portland, Maine, where Hank lives, and I had introduced him and Pat, the woman who sings my bathroom, by email, and they had begun a long email correspondence. And I'm such a fan of your work. Oh, I'm such a fan of your work. And it's completely sweet and sincere. But when I was up there, I got them on the phone together, and it was just such this bizarre, surreal, sweet thrill to hear these people who are dear to me now becoming more dear to each other as well. And I was telling them afterwards, I feel so glad that I've connected the New York royalty to the Chicago royalty.
Absolutely. No, that's huge. I love this stuff. Is there... was there any hesitation on the part of any of these people when you originally approached them? Just because you're a dude who's writing for Letterman for so long?
Yeah, well, you even see that when in the movie I get to Sid Siegel's house.
Yeah.
And I had spoken to him on the phone a couple of times, but it was very much the case usually that people are not sure what to make of this. It makes no sense to them that somebody from the outside world wants to ask them about this.
Yeah.
And when they hear it's a guy who writes jokes for David Letterman, the red flags go up like, somebody is coming here to make fun of me.
Yep.
And I don't want to tell this person, no, I won't talk to them, but there's this inbuilt caution. And you see it with Sid when I get there. Even then, I'd talked to him on the phone, but he was not quite sure what this all was.
Yeah, he definitely warmed up over the course of that shooting day, too.
Right.
Yeah, which was beautiful to see. And then they're singing, the fact that Steve knew all of Sid's songs, you know, and then Sid still remembered how to play them without the music at all. So the two of them just start this whole impromptu singing thing together, and it was just like, I can't believe this is happening. It's just like, it's so beautiful.
Did you hang back as a director, or did you have a hand in any of it, or did you just totally hang back?
I mean, as far as the
communicating, hey, keeping it relaxed, or was Steve there to really do all that part of it?
No. I mean, I tried to let them do what was natural. But, I think at one point Steve said, "Would it be okay if I ask him if he'll play one of the songs?" And I'm like, "Yes, definitely, that's okay."
Yes,
But we always went into those shoots prepared, we would work up together, here's questions I naturally want to ask Sid Siegel, and Dave would say, those are good, but don't forget also, here's an angle that I think would help us. So she was always very aware of trying to maximize the value of what we would get for her storytelling, and not just me being my fanboy guy.
Of course.
That can be pretty specific.
Yeah, Sid, and the second measure of this hospital supply song, I've always wondered why we don't need to put too much of that in the movie. All the brief bits of it can be charming, but Dava was always very aware. Like we would shoot for a while and stop, and then she'd come over and tell me, I want you to ask him this, and maybe you could go back and ask this a different way to get, because you don't know what you're going to get in the biggest sense, but you want to give yourself every chance to have the right pieces to work with later.
Right. As an editor, I mean, you had to have been cutting it in your mind the whole time, but it's harder with a documentary. So how do you do that?
Well, yeah, I mean, that's the thing. You just prepare as well as you can going in. And the thing about, I don't know if it's a blessing or a curse being an editor out in the field directing, because I would be hearing things and there would be a mental checklist like, okay, yeah, got that, and maybe we shot something where something wasn't exactly perfect, but my editor brain could go, well, I could solve that by doing XYZ, and so we don't have to actually do another version of, him walking down the street or whatever.
Right.
I'm just throwing that out there, but I would know I could solve those problems. So maybe that's a good thing. Maybe it makes your shooting day shorter and things like that, but I don't know.
Were there, I think I know the answer, that there were some, but do you remember specific moments where something happened in front of your eyes while we were doing something, in the back of your mind you had a little, that I'm 100% sure that's going to be in the movie?
Right,
yeah. Like when Hank was talking to us, we were doing our interview with him, and he mentioned the story about his mother not appreciating what he did and saying it was just like commercials. And that was, no one, in all the interviews we'd done so far, nobody had really expressed that before. And it was just that thing of, oh my God, thank God somebody's talking about this. And he's doing it in such a way that it's so poignant, this story. And I knew that was going to be in the film, for sure. Yeah.
Well, I mean, there's got to be also a level of, you could probably both connect with that in some way, right? I mean, as a comedy writer, some people are going to think your work is frivolous. As a documentary filmmaker, people are going to be like, well, why aren't you making real movies? Which, believe me, I know how that goes.
Oh, yeah.
I think hopefully we're at a time in history where more and more people are thinking the best documentaries are the top-ranked movies.
Right.
It certainly seems
they are
to
getting
be
better.
tilted that way. But yes, I do feel like I guess I'm not Shakespeare. I'm just writing cheap jokes about whatever is in the news, and that can be great and all that. But yeah, I did feel a kinship with these people who had steeled themselves to the apparent reality that nobody would ever care about or know about, even what they had done in the best work of their lives that had enthralled an audience on one beautiful spring morning in 1967 was gone forever in any essential way. And you write so much at a show like Letterman, and most of it doesn't get used, and most of what does get on is kind of forgotten and stale a few days later if it's very topical. So your successes are intense but fleeting.
Yeah.
And so that's part of what David realized was another layer of this movie, of creative people looking eye to eye at each other about the challenges of remaining inspired when you're up against that.
Yeah.
And creating something that people think of as disposable. I mean, even the companies themselves thought of these things as disposable. They didn't really save them. The company archives aren't full of this stuff at all. It was the collectors, really, and the people who were in the shows who saved the material. But comedy is like that, too. And I would say people making comedy films, it's so easy to think of it as just this disposable, quick entertainment, and that there's nothing deep there. But the best ones have that level too.
Yeah.
I was talking at a presentation I gave a while back about how I thought it was a very rare thing for a film to reach the simultaneous top level peaks of drama and comedy, but it can be done. And I gave the example of, if you're at a funeral and you're weeping with deep grief, but someone tells a hilarious anecdote about the deceased, and then everyone is laughing harder than they thought they could laugh that day. That's the kind of thing that people like Dava can hit, and it is elusive, but when you hear it and see it, you know it.
Right. Well, and I did not know what to expect when I turned it on. I mean, you see this room, so obviously I had a vested interest in. Oh, these will be funny comedy records. But and I even made a documentary where I had to like discover along the way. Oh, I'm being an idiot. These people are sincere. I should appreciate that. I've even gone through that, and I'm still like, no, this could be a funny thing where it's a bunch of dumb records, and just 2 minutes into it, I'm like, oh, this is entirely different. And I needed to shift gears, and I don't know. It's just so beautifully sincere. And it's about sincerity. That's hard. That's another thing that's hard to do, is make a movie that's about sincerity. Yeah. And it's also hard to open up, I think, and be sincere as a comedy person. So there's a lot going on there.
Well, luckily, having worked with Dava at the Letterman show for a period of a few years when she was there, and we kind of realized, we kind of like the same things and enjoy working with each other. But also I knew professionally she was top shelf in terms of her skills, but also her style, and I thought this is exactly the right person to attempt to tell this story. And I have no idea what it will be, but I will say I'll go wherever you want to go on this. So I don't know how many documentary subjects have that confidence in the person who's taking on a story that involves them. So luckily I was completely confident, and as I always say, my confidence was completely justified. So win-win.
Well, there's so much. It's all about discovery too. It's just you have to let so much of it air, and let it happen.
Yeah.
There can be the there's a temptation when I didn't know what the hell I was doing was to try and influence it way too heavily. But I'm just curious, in your brain, how different was the original? And maybe I've already asked this in some way, but the original story in your head to what you ended up with.
Well, I think at the very beginning, I thought that we would be making more fun of the companies and this whole concept. I really did think that it was, because I didn't know these people yet, and all I heard was the music, and the music was nuts. And I wasn't a huge Broadway fan either.
Okay.
So, I didn't appreciate Broadway enough when I started this project. And that's been one of the crazy things about doing. I mean, that's why documentaries are so wonderful, because if you're doing your research, you're going to have to learn something. Mm-hmm. And so I came away with a much, I really appreciate Broadway musicals in a way I never did before.
That's great.
And what it takes to write something like that too. Mm-hmm. So, I definitely did not expect it to be as much about Steve and the people he was meeting. When I thought we would do this, I just thought this is a gigantic section of the entertainment business that people don't know about. That's really what it was, and nobody's done this before. Somebody has to tell this story.
Right.
So that's really what started it. And then this, the story took on a life of its own, which was beautiful and great. Thank God.
And you hedged your bets at the beginning, as I recall.
Yeah,
I did. The way you were shooting it.
Really?
Yeah. So, Steve goes to talk to all these people, and I shot the interviews with 2 cameras so that person, whoever we were talking to, would be in their own single in case I needed to cut Steve out of the movie.
The director's cut. No Steve Young.
But because so many people have been saying, no, I don't know if, I'm thinking, how am I going to get this funded to tell this story? Uh-huh. And if they're all saying they don't think he can carry it, maybe I should listen to that. But I did, my heart of hearts, I knew what I wanted. Mm-hmm. But I did at the beginning, cover my bases in case I had to in case the only version that people wanted was the educational one. I was like, well, it's still worth telling that,
The other backup option is you just sit Dave down for 10 minutes, have him say, yeah, no, and then you just cut to David Letterman, and then you sell it based off of that, and that wouldn't be as good a movie.
I'm sure somebody would have wanted
I'm
that.
sure somebody would have, but would not have been good, I guess, is what I'm looking for.
Yeah, well, it's interesting. People who see a finished movie and complain about it because it's not what they would have made.
I know. I don't get that at all.
Yeah.
It drives me nuts. I just take the thing for what it is. Like it or don't like it, move on. But I don't know. I love it, and people should. I think it's still probably on Amazon Prime to stream. I don't know. It was when I watched.
Some form of Amazon.
It's on Netflix.
It is on Netflix
in
right
the
now.
U.S.
Okay.
Yeah,
iTunes.
And then iTunes and Amazon. Mm-hmm.
Or I'll come to your home and act it out.
Yeah, we want to get somebody to let us do DVDs, but we have an interesting distribution
Ah.
situation. But
Yep,
that's
I know how
my
that goes.
big dream.
Yeah, have you
would
ever
be-
heard of the word interesting? It's a euphemism.
But yeah. Anyway, subject change.
How long into the production did you decide for the finale, the musical number? How long did you know that was going to happen?
That was toward. I mean, so it took us 4 years to make the movie,
Yeah.
and that started coming about in the last year and a half.
Okay.
And it was it would be. First of all, we have to do some kind of musical thing at the end. And then when he started meeting these people, it was like, well, they still have so much to offer too, and Steve and Hank need to write a song together. It just kind of came together like this should be a kind of a Muppet movie ending where we meet we see all the people that we met along the way, and but I mean it took a lot of planning and just one shoot day on the Warner Brothers backlot. Yeah.
Oh, that's where you shot it. Okay, I was wondering. I
Yeah.
can never tell which city.
Which is not too far from here,
No,
right?
not at all.
Yeah.
No, I love it over there.
Yeah.
That was a really intense day, but we had planned so much before that going in that it was, we were able to get most of it done.
Yeah, that was shocking and thrilling in many ways. First of all, people like Pat and Sandy, in their 70s, thought that their showbiz careers were well behind them.
Sure.
But no, here they are, 6 a.m., and they're in a makeup trailer on the Warner Brothers backlot, and we're gearing up for
So good.
movie magic. Look, there's cameras on cranes and people with walkie-talkies. This is all happening. And when we did the vocals for the big finale song, and everyone's there, and that was near here too, wasn't it? Was that Burbank?
Yeah.
It was like this sweetest, most surreal afterlife / family reunion where all these people who sort of cosmically know each other but had maybe never met in actual real life before were all so enthralled to be together.
That's so good.
The punk rock guys
Uh-huh.
could not have been more starstruck to meet Pat and Sandy from The Bathrooms Are Coming.
I love it.
Yeah.
Are any of those folks out here, any people who are involved in those records? Because I'm not sure how spread out they are around the country.
L.A. seemed to have much less of this. It wasn't one of the big centers of gravity for industrials, but people do, as they do, end up out here. Melody Rogers, a friend of ours, who was mostly on the Chicago scene, although had some New York work also, and Hank Beebe worked with her. She's out here now, and some of my record collector friends are out here.
Sure. Yeah, I don't doubt that. I would like to take a quick break, and when we come back, maybe we can talk with Hank for a minute.
Oh yes, he'll be delighted.
So, if you wouldn't mind, I've gotten a bit of Steve's story before, and today got a bit of Dava's story. I'd like to know a little bit about your career as a whole.
Well, it's a lot of it. I'm 23 years old, and I've been in the business for 70 years. So there's a lot. I was brought up in a middle-class family, and I had talent and had musical training and all of that. And from 16 years old on, I wanted to be a professional composer. I was advised against it by everybody, or just about everybody. My father and mother were against it because they felt it was unstable. And as a middle-class family, they wanted me to bring the family up a notch rather than drop down 2 notches. So I was not exactly supported by them spiritually. They, however, were in my corner when I needed them, and I appreciated that. But I went on to leave a very good job that I'd gotten out of school. I got a master's degree in composition at the University of North Carolina. And I served in the Navy for 11 years, so 2 in World War II on active duty and 2 in Korean. And when I got back from that, I was all for doing my career in composition. So I just married Nancy Alt, who's been with me now for 67 years. And we moved to New York. She was a professional model in Philadelphia, where I met her. And she also was on radio and television, in particular a show opposite Ernie Kovacs. He was a comic at the time, and
Yeah.
he was his foil on television. And that went on for a while, and then we got married, and she joined me in New York, and I set out to have a career in New York. I had some things in various shows that were running. I contributed special material to reviews. The review was very popular in those days in New York. And about 2 years in, my agent said, I want you to go over and play some things for the Chevrolet show people. They are looking for a professional composer from New York. And I said, fine. In those days, I thought that was Dinah Shore's show, which was called the Chevrolet show.
Sure, yeah.
Be the USA in your Chevrolet. It turned out it wasn't that at all. These were executives from the top level of Chevrolet in Detroit who wanted to put on a huge show to introduce the new models of Chevrolet for the year 1957. This happened in 56. So I went over and took my brother-in-law. He and I had been doing an act in a 6th Avenue nightclub, and we were well rehearsed in it, so I thought that's the best way to audition my material because I had written the act. And we went to the audition, and we followed a lot of very good people, and some of them had Broadway credits, and some of them had Hollywood movie credits. And 3 days later, my agent called, and he said, you got the job. And I said, well, that's a surprise to me. He says, it's a bigger surprise to me. He had no idea that we had a chance at all. He was doing me a favor because I was fairly new in his corral. And so he sent me over this thing, and my brother-in-law and I pulled it off. So I went to work and found out just what this was, that it was a huge Broadway-style show, budgeted at $3 million, if you can imagine.
No, I can't.
In those days, Broadway got by for hundreds of thousands of dollars. A musical, for instance, My Fair Lady was $446,000. This was a big show. They had 36 actors for the Detroit version, and then at the same time they put on 5 satellite shows in Seattle and San Francisco and Dallas and Atlanta. And from there, I think, New York, of course, ended up in New York, where I got to see it for the first time. But it struck me at the time that this was something I really liked to do. That there was a kind of compatibility with the way I wrote and how I felt about things, and I found it very easy to fit for me.
I feel like a lot of people would be afraid of that working for a corporation. Did that scare you at all creatively?
No. For one thing, the corporations were much friendlier in the 1950s. They have become more powerful and more involved since then, and more separated from their the people who work for them, their sales forces, particularly. Back in those days, they were doing things for their sales forces in order to increase the compatibility between labor and the officers in the company, and they did a good job of that. So they were not particularly frightening, although what you had to do for them was to first of all, it had to be first rate. They were very well aware of whether this was going to help them sell products. and you had to be willing to rewrite fast because it was a schedule to meet. It wasn't like you could put it off.
Sure. What was the first song? Do you remember the first song you wrote for that?
I was writing it with Saul Shore, who was a writer who worked in Detroit with the people, and he was constantly with these executives, and they would tell him what they wanted to happen with these shows, and then he would write lyrics and send them to me in the mail, and I would write them. But among those first ones was one called Chevrolet Proud, which was a kind of fight song for the company to wake people up to the fact that they were a very important part of the economy in the country, and that they should feel that pride in that fact.
Steve, have you heard that one?
Proud, proud, Chevrolet, proud, 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 Chevrolet, proud. Yes, I have.
Okay, I shouldn't be surprised.
Well, the interesting thing about that is if Hank wrote it very early on, Chevrolet loved that song so much it became like the one of their core bits of internal myth making, and it shows up on a 1976 record that Hank otherwise had no involvement with, but they were still using it like 20 years later as one of their keystones.
That's true. It became their anthem.
That's nuts. Wow. That's I don't, you know, we've got Steve and Dava here, and they both have talked about kind of their journey with this whole the whole corporate musical world. Were you aware of, how quickly did you become aware of other people working in the same industry as you were?
Very gradually, because we didn't talk about it much.
Mm-hmm.
For one thing, we were let in on trade secrets, and we wrote about trade secrets, and they didn't want their competition to know, so they kind of swore us to secrecy, and we didn't feel necessary because of two factors. One was we wanted to get the next job, and the other one was that the theater colony in general considered the industrial show as a kind of poor relative of Broadway, and we were looked down upon as people who were merely part and parcel of a kind of commercial venture that was a sidelight of the Broadway effort. And of course, we were writing in the Broadway style, that was true. But it was kind of considered a cut below legitimate theater, that a legitimate actor or writer or composer would only indulge in between engagements.
Ah, okay. What did it take for you to sort of realize that might be a bunch of hooey and that you're just working just as hard as everybody else?
Well, for one thing, I was able to provide well for my family.
Yeah.
And that, of course, had a wife and two girls. And that was very helpful because I could put them through school and do all the things I needed to do. But wrong about 1960, though, I for some reason I went cold. The phrase for it in New York was I couldn't get arrested.
Mm-hmm.
I had the willingness and the time to do further industrials, but there weren't any coming. Other people had come up and charmed their way into the sections of the production companies, and I somehow was considered old hat after the fifth or sixth show, and suddenly, in 1960, I think it was, I was on my own. So I ended up being the musical conductor of an off-Broadway show called Old Oysters, an unpromising title.
Uh-huh.
And in that show was John Voight, for instance, very young John Voight, and Bill Heyer. Bill Heyer was kind of the MC of the show, and he wrote his own material, and it was very funny. And about 2 weeks out, the director came to me and he said, "Do you have any review material at home?" I'd be glad to look it over because we're going to replace a lot of the pieces in the show. The show doesn't play right now. And I said, sure, and I brought in 6 pieces, and 4 went into the show. They asked Bill the same thing, and he came in with about 6 pieces, and 4 were put into the show. So our 4 pieces, my 4 pieces and his 4 pieces, were probably the thing that kept that show going for the entire season.
Wow.
So I got really, I became as interested, from my point of view, in conducting the show, as how his numbers went, as how my numbers went each night. And finally, we decided, well, look, if we can help this show along with our numbers, why can't we write one together, a show, Off-Broadway review, that would really be good when it would be all our material. So we sat down and started to write an Off-Broadway musical. But it took us 15 years to write it and get it on because
Wow.
I brought him immediately into the industrial show field because he was funny. And I could add to the fact that I could write good tunes, to add the fact that he could do funny dialogue. So we were able to combine and from that point on, be very successful in attracting clients.
That's a remarkable story. I want to know, Steve, what was the first thing of Hank's that you ever heard?
I think the first one I found was Diesel Dazzle. That was 1966, Detroit diesel engine show, and it had future household names in it performing, like Hal Linden before he broke through, David Hartman before he became like a nationally known TV newsman. Wonderful people and just beautifully produced and crafted insane songs you can't get out of your head, but they're about diesel engines. So that's BB Higher. And then I find the 64 Rambler show, BB Higher. Oh, here's the American Motors show, BB Higher. Somewhere around the 3rd or 4th one, I thought, all right, now I want to find these shows by these people. Something has tipped over in my mind. Who are these people? Can I find them? And I started doing my primitive detective work. This was the dawn of the internet, like 1996.
Sure.
Somehow I got some information about Hank Beebe and managed to track him down to Portland, Maine, and got him on the phone. And I'm sure, Hank, whatever, if you remember anything about this, I'm sure it was the standard template of bewilderment and caution, because how can anyone be asking me about this? And if it's a Letterman writer, that can't be good.
Do you, Hank? Do you remember how you felt when Steve first contacted you out of the blue?
Bewilderment and caution.
Okay, there we go.
Well,
he's a comedy writer. We were being made fun of doing our shows in New York by the theater colony. So I thought, well, maybe he's just going to play to them. I had no idea, but the fact that he was interested in my music of that field overcame my bewilderment and caution, because I was really alone in this whole thing. I was not able to talk about it during the time I was in it. And for someone 50 years later to be interested in what I did back then was most pleasant for me. To be able to talk about that period, because I'd never had the opportunity.
And it seemed like there was very little in terms of collegial discussions. You knew a couple of the other people in New York socially a little bit, but you, as it turned out years later, you didn't know how many people there were like you across the country over so many years. So you were kind of isolated about this.
And so were they. Now, it would have been great if we could have all gotten together at the time, but we didn't know about each other. I had no idea, for instance, that there was a huge Chicago field. I thought it was all New York. And even in New York, I knew 2 other composers and a couple of other writers, but I knew a lot of actors who went around through all these shows. And if they were really good, like Hal Linden was, and and David Hartman. Why, they were working all the time. They wanted to, because they were that good. They were quick learners and beautiful singers, and eventually, of course, found their way into other fields in television. But I had no idea. If you had asked me at the end of my 26 years in that field in New York, how many other people were in it, I would say probably 100 actors and probably a half a dozen writers, a half a dozen composers, and so forth. And it turns out, there's like hundreds, many even thousands of shows that went on. So it was much, much bigger than I thought.
Is it interesting to know that sort of at the end of the day, the audience you were really writing for is a bunch of guys like Steve?
Well, when you say like Steve, well, he's a very unique person. So
that is
I can't
true.
say a bunch of guys like Steve, but I was aware, because when I was in New York, I had to sell my work. I went there for the purpose of finding a market for my work, and so I had to sell it. And I saw how difficult selling is. And if you do it every day, 9 to 5, as the people I was writing for, I had a sense of kinship with them, but I knew that they had a much tougher job than I ever did, because I'd write something for 6 weeks, and then I'd go out and try to sell it for 2. But they go all the time, 9 to 5, and sometimes longer than that. They're in and out of people's offices. They're having to adapt to other people's schedules. They're having to take no for an answer lots of times. Rejection is very hard for anybody, but for somebody who's a professional salesperson, it must be terrible.
So you knew you had this kinship with the people in the audience of your shows, people who were pounding the pavement every day trying to sell their products, but also sell their personalities. But what you would have been astonished by in 1980 or whatever was the idea that someday this special narrow audience material will break out of its little shadowy corral and find new ears.
I'm sorry, Steve. I couldn't quite hear what you said.
Oh, it was beautiful.
It was eloquent. Yeah, it was very nice.
No, it's just that you could not have imagined all those years ago that someday completely unrelated audiences would have found some value in this music.
That's right. We thought that once it had done its duty, once it had provided the service that it was written for, to get an audience to change their attitude toward their work, to see the value in it, to be enthusiastic about the products they were selling, to have a sense of purpose. All of that, when the music had accomplished that, when the show had accomplished that, then we all considered that it was over, and the slate was wiped clean, and we go back to work on the next one. And I didn't think about it. I didn't see half the shows that I wrote because I was writing the next one, and there was no opportunity for that. But for someone like Steve to come along 40, 50 years later, of course it was more like 30 when I met him, because I've known Steve for 20 years. But for someone to come along who had this eccentric adventure going, for him to see the value that I saw in those things, that even my family didn't see. My wife did, but my parents did not. And for someone to come along who placed value on that music beyond its original intent, that was very, very heartwarming to me, and the beginning of a long friendship.
I'm particularly pleased, as we talk about the soundtrack, that there is a pressing plant in the year 2020 that is stamping out vinyl records with selections from Got to Investigate Silicones and Diesel Dazzle, among many other treasured records that are in the movie and in my collection. But
well, you showed me, Steve, the design on your laptop, and I must say it's a beautiful job. And then when you sent those recent photos, which show that the vinyl is a translucent color, it's, one's blue and one's it's just a wonderful package. I'm not a collector. I don't have time to collect things. I'm much busier in other fields. But I know my grandson, for instance, collects vinyl records, and he's been doing that for 2 or 3 years. He's right in the swing of things in terms of the record business, and buys all of his stuff on vinyl. So I knew that something was happening there that was right in tune with the market. And he's played some stuff, and I still have a player here that I play vinyl records on. I'm so glad it is on it because it gives it a much fuller sound. The CD lasts longer than the cartridge that we used to use, the tape cartridge, but the CD has a slightly thinner sound, and I can understand why people have gravitated to the vinyl record, because the sound is much more like you're there where the orchestra or the singers are performing.
I mean, yeah, we talk about that all the time on this show. Oh, I can't shut up about it personally, and it's nice to know that your work is getting put out on I cannot wait to handle this record. And I really, I don't know, every time seeing the movie, but also listening to the two of you talk, it's such a delightful friendship, and I love hearing about it, and I love that you guys get to work together.
Yeah, we were at the finale of the show together.
It's a delight. It's perfect. It's a perfect way to end a movie. Hank, I really, really appreciate you taking the time to speak with us today. This has been a lot of fun.
Thank you, Jason. I'm glad to be doing it.
Well, that was a delight speaking with Hank. Thank you so much for making that happen, by the way. That was great.
Yeah.
This almost didn't happen, actually.
Well,
so
when we were talking a few weeks ago about doing this and what the dates should be, one stretch of time was when I was going to go up to Maine anyway and visit Hank, and then for various reasons that didn't work out, but I realized, well, we can still just get him on the phone.
Yeah.
When we were at the world premiere at the Tribeca Film Festival, he was not up to traveling to New York from Maine by the time he's in his 90s, but during the Q&A on stage, I called him from my phone, and he could hear audience cheering for him.
Oh,
yeah.
That's so good.
Yeah.
It's really nice of you to make that happen. It's huge. It's huge. It's the thing that, like, I dream of. Like, I keep hoping I'll find a comedian to be able to do something like that for, because so many of them are undiscovered, sometimes for good reason, but a lot of them are undiscovered. And, it's one of those things where it's like, okay, just you let them know that they're loved. And it's I don't know. That's one of the things I like about this movie. It makes me very happy.
I think a lot of people who watch the movie then, among the cascading thoughts they have as they chew it over in their mind is, what am I doing in my life that maybe when I'm 90, someone will come to me and say, guess what? This thing that you wrote off as ignored and forgotten, no, we're going to talk about it. So everybody can have that fantasy.
Yeah.
It may not come true all that often, but when it did, I mean, in this unbelievably grandiose, beautiful, surprising way, it's been great for me to just feel like I helped bring these people to where they belong in terms of recognition and a spotlight.
Yeah, it's wonderful. And also people should remember that, if you do work and that doesn't happen, there's probably somebody who does know, who just doesn't have the impetus to do it the way you did, to contact them. They probably love what you do and they just don't. Yeah. They can't suck it up enough to call you.
How many people are going to encounter a unbelievably talented and passionate filmmaker who's going to take it to a level that even I couldn't have imagined.
Right. Yeah, I mean, if you'd just decided, I'm going to bring a camera with me, not the same story. If you're just like, I'm just going to film this as I go.
Not quite, no.
It'd been a nice little document, but not a full movie. This album comes out soon on vinyl. It's already out, digitally,
Right.
but you can get it on vinyl very soon. Dave, where can people find you if you want them to? And is there anything else coming out that people should keep an eye out for?
Well, the movie is still on Netflix in the U.S. and available on iTunes and Amazon. And then you can find us on Twitter at Bathtubs Over Broadway, BWY, and on Instagram and Facebook. And we will be updating people on the vinyl release as soon as we have the info. And more projects to come. We're brainstorming some things right now. So,
Yes.
yeah.
Okay.
I don't know if they'll be about vinyl or show tunes, but they will partake in that spirit. I think we both connect on that. But as I was saying, just thrilled with the people who said we are going to make this vinyl release
Yeah.
top quality. It's got this 12-page booklet in it with
good.
beautiful photos from like when we were recording the vocals for the final number. So some behind-the-scenes stuff like that, as well as beautiful stills from the movie. And I wrote liner notes. Dava's written her notes about her thoughts on the
great.
movie, and everything's all laid out with all the facts we know about the songs. In some cases, some even now are completely unknown because these things were so scattershot in how well they were documented. We still have things like composer unknown, composer unknown.
Oh, no. Okay.
Yeah.
That drives me crazy.
Yeah, but a lot of really fun stuff in that whole vinyl package. Thanks to Mondo.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
as I say in the liner notes, it's a beautiful sort of closure in a way. The whole thing began in 1993 when I was gathering the records for the Letterman bit, and the very first industrial I ever found was a General Electric show written by John Kander and Fred Ebb, who people know from Chicago and Cabaret, and Walter Marks, who I'm now friendly with, did I Gotta Be Me Broadway shows. But that was a double vinyl album set because this General Electric power show was so huge they needed 2 vinyl discs. And now in the year 2020 it has come all the way around to a double record set celebrating this whole world.
That's so good. I also don't understand why they weren't all musicals. I've got an IBM one that is just a bunch of sketches.
Yeah.
Which was appropriate to talk about on this show, but there's no music. So it's kind of dull.
Oh.
Yeah,
it's
once
too
you
bad.
get a taste for it.
Yeah.
Where's my corporate musicals?
Yeah.
I don't want to
Yeah.
hear just the so
I mean, the acting's great. It is top notch. You can tell. And it was just recorded at the Santa Monica Civic Auditorium, like where a bunch of other crazy, great stuff has been recorded. But yeah, it's not. Once I found out about the movie, I was like, oh, damn it. That's what I should be. I'm not going to. I've decided. We talked about this last time. This is your thing. I'm never going to deal with it. I like knowing that you're the one archiving.
I love the feeling of like, and we may have talked about this before, the song poem records, and the people who, like my friend Don Bowles is pretty far into that, and I think that is taken care of.
Yeah.
I can just enjoy what they've collected and not be up all night worrying about whether it's all going to slide off the edge into the darkness. We've done a good job with ours, but there's so many other categories of this, and you deal with this with what you do, finding lost comedians and championing work that may have been overlooked. There are thousands and millions of people who do variations of this. You probably shouldn't take on too many at once.
Yeah, right. Yeah, believe me. And you're Pants Steve on Twitter, right?
Pants Steve on Twitter, and I think Instagram.
Yeah.
I'm definitely something on Instagram.
Yeah.
Seriously, Steve and Dava, thank you so much for doing this. This has been a lot of fun.
Thank you.
Please, people, go buy that soundtrack. Go watch the movie.
I wonder how it'll happen. I mean, is there going to be will it be just for sale in stores or on a website? We don't know.
I don't
question.
know. We don't know yet.
I will keep an eye out on my record store. So I've got my regulars that I will check out for sure.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course. And thank you guys for listening. And as always, have a good thing. Comedy on Vinyl is a production of StolenDress Entertainment. It is produced by Mike Warden and is hosted and edited by Jason Klom. Our theme song was composed and performed by Richard Levinson. You can email us at podcast@comedyonvinyl.com. You can also send snail mail to StolenDress Entertainment, P.O. Box 805, Burbank, California, 91503. Subscribe to Comedy on Vinyl on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and anywhere else you can find podcasts. Give us a 5-star rating and write us a review. It helps. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Comedy on Vinyl, or find everything in one place at comedyonvinyl.com. A major portion of Comedy on Vinyl has been underwritten by Stand Up Records. Please visit standuprecords.com for all your comedy needs, and tune in to the new Stand Up Records channel available on the Roku, where you can also find select episodes of this podcast. Visit StolenDress.com to listen to our other podcasts, watch videos, and imbibe freely of our multimedia content going back 15 plus years. StolenDress Entertainment.
Hey, it's my turn. Ah!